Hello and welcome to Walking Wartime, and today we're in Harrington to see the Carpetbagger Aviation Museum. Let's go check it out. On the 11th of July 1942, construction of Harrington airfield began. Station 179 would be built by the 826th and 852nd Engineer Battalions of the US Army. The airfield was originally intended as a Class A airfield to house heavy bombardment groups. Due to the North African campaign, a battalion of aviation engineers were sent over to the operational theatre. The airfield would be completed in the spring of 1944. The bomb group assigned to the airfield were also sent to take part in Operation Torch. With no one using the site, it was taken over by the RAF's 84 Operational Training Unit at nearby Desborough. At the beginning of World War II, President Roosevelt realised that the US would need a gathering of intelligence on enemy positions, plans and movements. He would appoint the legendary General William Donovan, nicknamed Wild Bill, a highly decorated World War I veteran and a recipient of the Medal of Honor, to be the leader of the Office of the Coordinator of Information. Donovan, a highly successful lawyer predating his new career, had met with other influential intelligence services, including William Stevenson, Sir Stuart Menzies, the head of the SIS, and a young Naval Reserve officer, Ian Fleming, whose time and experience with the OSS would lead him to write the best-selling series James Bond. Unfortunately, the COI was not created with enough time to avert the intelligence failures that led to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Donovan would rename the agency to the OSS 6 months later on the 13th of June 1942 and would transfer to reporting to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. As directed by the Combined Chiefs of Staff in September 1943, the 8th Air Force would choose RAF Harrington as base of operations. The base was chosen as the location was close to the supply packing station Holme in Peterborough and another in Cheddington, as well as British OSE based at Tempsford. The base would see the arrival of the 36 and 406 bomb squadrons to form the new 801st Provisional Bomb Group, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Clifford Heflin. A month later, 2 more squadrons were attached to the group. The 788th from the 467th Bomb Group at Rackheath and the 850th from the 490th Bomb Group at Eye. Both squadrons had been sent to Cheddington for training before being moved to Harrington. The group would take part supplying resistance forces from modified B-24 Liberators that were painted in all black. The orders would come in at HQ in Baker Street in London, then the order would come through to the packing station at Holme, where staff would load C&H containers and panniers full of weapons, ammunition, supplies, and anything else that the OSS, SOE and resistance already on the ground would need to carry out sabotage or collect intel or whatever was needed for the mission. The group would drop teams of Jedburghs behind enemy lines. The Jedburgh teams would consist of OSS and SOE agents, along with the Free French and the Dutch and Belgium armies in exile. The Jedburgh were named after the town in Scotland. Operation Jedburgh was the first cooperation between the SOE and the Special Operations of the OSS. The 801st would also drop bundles of propaganda leaflets. On the 13th of August 1944, the group were redesignated as the 492nd Bomb Group, with the bomb squadrons changing to the 856th, 857th, 858th, and the 859th. The group would also change over to Colonel Robert Fish, with Heflin returning to the States. Graduating Army Air Corps flying training in 1940, he was assigned to the 41st Bomber Group in May 1941. By 1943, Colonel Fish was transferred to Dunkswell to fly Liberators to counter German submarines before being assigned to Harrington, and lastly being transferred to the 384th at the end of the war. By the 16th and 17th of September 1944, the missions had started to thin out as the tide of the war was starting to turn. General Patton was stuck with a fuel supply problem, and it was decided that the 492nd were used to fly gasoline to forward airfields, and between the 21st to the 30th of September 1944 delivered 822,791 gallons of 80-octane gasoline to 3 separate airfields in France and Belgium. Eventually, the supply missions had run down. Some of the squadrons carried on with supply missions, and the others on night bombing missions, under the command of Colonel Hudson Upham on the 17th of December 1944. The 859th Bomb Squadron would be transferred to the 15th Air Force in January 1945. On the 7th of May, the 492nd Bomb Group left Harrington for Kirtland Field in Albuquerque and were deactivated on the 17th of October 1945. With 1,860 sorties and 20,495 containers, 11,174 packages supplied, 25 B-24s lost and 8 badly damaged, and 208 missing and killed or slightly wounded. In September 1945, President Harry Truman signed Executive Order 9621, terminating the OSS. By 1947, he decided to bring back a different version of the OSS and establish the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, with many of the former OSS agents taking the lead. All who flew from Harrington, whether it was 8th Air Force, OSS, SOE, all played a major role in the war. They did the best they could, and no one could have done it better.